Hello and welcome to our special Grand Marshal Luncheon on this June 5th. Welcome to everybody who's here today. If you could all rise and greet your fellow table guests and members.
I think I did see him. So that's Yuki, right? Yes. Or I guess we're not. Okay. So we're saying Mayor. I haven't seen her either. Pro temp or term? Temp. Okay. Philip. Philbin. Where's that at? Special recognition. It's number 6. I don't see him on mine. Am I missing him? He's not on mine. He was taken off. I got the last is Randy Allen. But Allen's doing those, right? Yes. But Monty's doing that. Are you giving her this info? Because this, usually they have their own. Like 9. So maybe show Monty. Because this ends up various places. Okay.
Okay, if you could make your way back to your table, but please stay standing. Okay, we are going to get ready for our invocation. Today will be led in our invocation by Herb Hammond. He will also lead us in our pledge. And then we're going to have our soloist for the national anthem introduced by Lee today. And thank you, Brian Dunklin, for the wonderful music that preceded our program. Thank you.
Do we have any concerns today? Okay, please bow your heads. Wise and loving Father, we thank you for the friends gathered here today, for the food that we're about to eat, for the fellowship of Rotary, for the opportunity to serve our community and one another. We thank you for this nation that we call home. In 1 month, we will celebrate the 250th anniversary of the day our nation declared to the world the self-evident truth that all men are created equal. Help us to live up to that declaration, not just to recite it, but to believe it and to act on it. We pray for those around the world who fight for freedom, the soldiers, their families, the children caught up in the crossfire of war and oppression. Strengthen them, sustain them. And we remember, too, those who came before us, the men and women who gave everything so that we might be free. We remember those men from 13 nations who 81 years ago stood ready on the southern coast of England, waiting the order to begin the Normandy invasion. May we never take lightly the price they paid, the courage they showed, the weight that rested on their shoulders. Father, in this time of division and uncertainty, help us rise above the noise, to hear one another, to see one another's humanity, and to work together for the common good. Give us the wisdom to disagree without hatred and the grace to seek what is truly best for all. We ask this trusting and believing in you. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I appreciate it as you all remain standing. But before I introduce John Dubois, I got to thank Brian Dunklin again. This music was really awesome. I think he deserves a round of applause, don't you? This was a special time. It's really nice to see this room so full. By the way, I came patriotically dressed. Some of you all did, but not everybody in the room. But I thought I would just kind of get a little bit into it. Today, we're really fortunate. We have John Dubois with us. He is going to solo sing a cappella, the national anthem, and then he's going to sing an Aaron Copland piece that's a patriotic piece called At the River. I think you're going to enjoy this a lot.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated.
Go for it. Shall we gather by the river where bright angels' feet have trod, with its crystal tide forever flowing by the throne of God? Yes, we'll gather at the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints by the river that flows by the throne of God. The shining river, soon our pilgrimage will cease, soon our happy hearts will quiver with the melody of peace. We'll gather by the river, the beautiful river. Gather with the saints by the river that flows by the throne of God, that flows by the throne of God.
Thank you, John. And now we have a Happy Buck. So if anybody has any good news they would like to share, today's Happy Bucks, we ask that you use the QR code on your table to donate to our parade beneficiary, who is the North Texas Food Bank. So if you wish to make a happy announcement today, we request that you follow up with your donation to the North Texas Food Bank. Any good news anyone wants to share? Nobody has any good news?
Well, she stepped out of the room. But I am very thankful for Monty. She is the one that's actually put on this event today. So if you see the beautiful arrangements, they were all done by her mother. They look very professional to me, and so Monty and her mom made a great team for putting on today, and we should give them a round of applause, even though Monty and her mom are not in the room.
Anyone else? Okay. We have the introduction of special guests today, and we have some people that we'd like to thank for attending today. If you could please stand as I read your name. From the city of University Park, we have Mayor Randy Biddle. And from the town of Highland Park, we have Mayor Will Beecherl. And from the city of University Park, we have Mayor Pro Tem Philip Philbin with us today. Thank you for being there. And from on the Rotary side, we have our district governor, Mike Calhoun. Thank you for being with us today. And Mayor Biddle, if you are ready to come up, and we have a special reading of a 4th of July proclamation.
Patrick M. Walsh, Ph.D., Admiral, U.S. Navy, retired Grand Marshal, Park City's 4th of July celebration 2026. Whereas the residents of Highland Park, University Park, and the Rotary Club of Park Cities are honoring retired Navy Admiral Patrick M. Walsh as Grand Marshal of the 2026 Park Cities 4th of July Parade, and whereas Patrick Walsh graduated from Jesuit College Preparatory School in Dallas and was the second student in the history of the school to receive both the Distinguished Graduate and Distinguished Alumnus Award. Admiral Walsh holds a Bachelor of Science degree from the U.S. Naval Academy, a Master of Arts in Law and Diplomacy, and a Doctorate of Philosophy with distinction in international relations from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, Tufts University. And whereas Admiral Walsh was the 59th Vice Chief of Naval Operations and served as a member of the Joint Requirements Oversight Council. He held significant leadership positions as a carrier-based combat fighter pilot and former slot pilot for the Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron, the Blue Angels. As the capstone of his illustrious 34 career, Admiral Walsh served as commander of U.S. Pacific Fleet, responsible for the largest naval force in the world, where he held the U.S. military response to the Great Eastern Japan earthquake, tsunami, and radiation triple catastrophes, excuse me. And whereas Patrick Walsh, upon his retirement from the Navy, parlayed his leadership skills into a successful career as a Fortune 50 executive. Admiral Walsh has an established record of leadership, delivering results in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors, to include chairman of the Dallas Committee on Foreign Relations, co-founder of the First Watch Group, a partnership with the former business leaders in the aerospace and defense industries, and board of directors at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. And whereas in 2015, Patrick Walsh was a member of a small team that established the Cristo Rey Dallas College Prep Foundation, a college preparatory school for students from households of low to moderate income. Admiral Walsh now serves as Cristo Rey's president, leading the school's commitment to academic excellence and empowerment. 92% of Cristo Rey's students will be first-generation college graduates, with a majority attending top-tier institutions. And whereas Patrick Walsh resides in Dallas with his wife of 35 years, Andy Kay, who is an active contributor to the nonprofit community. They have 2 grown children, Jennifer, an ICU nurse in Boston, and Matthew, an investment banking analyst in Los Angeles. And whereas Patrick Walsh, with his wisdom and leadership skills, has enhanced the lives of many in and around Dallas. Now, therefore, we are proud to honor Patrick M. Walsh for his profound and lasting contributions to our community. Signed, Will C. Beecherl, Mayor of Town of Highland Park, Charles R. Biddle, Mayor of City of University Park.
Come on in. Mayor Beecherl is going to join in on the picture too.
Very impressive.
And one of our co-chairs of the 4th of July Parade, Alan Wynn, is going to introduce our past Grand Marshals and announce the current theme.
Good afternoon. Like Sarah said, I'm here to announce the past Grand Marshals who are in attendance with us here today. And we have a table of them right over here. And if you all would stand up when your name is called. The first up is Jim Wharton, last year's Grand Marshal. Then we have Kurt Dooley and his wife Charlotte, who was Grand Marshal in 2013. And finally, we have Randy Allen and his wife Carolyn Allen. And our parade thing this year is America 250. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jill Jordan. I'm the other co-chair and the one obviously causing trouble. I'm here today to introduce the major players that make the parade and festival and our work for the North Texas Food Bank possible. We all know that the parade started out many years ago. We took it over. We faithfully executed it. And we needed a title sponsor to help us pay for it. We also recognize that we are a blessed community and that we should give something back to the larger community. And as such, several years ago, we began raising money on the side of the parade to donate to the North Texas Food Bank to help those who are in need. And so we added a second title, and we then had a problem. We can't have two titles. So we devised the scheme of a title sponsor, and they are the ones that give the check to the club that helps us put on the festival and the parade, and a title patron, and their check goes to the food bank, and as a result of them, we've been able to make a substantial contribution towards meals for the needy in this community. The first one that I would like to introduce is our title sponsor of the parade and the festival. The firm is the Agency Dallas, and one of the things that I'd like to point out about them is that this is their third year for being a title, so we are really appreciative. Megan and Damon Williamson, if one of you would like to come up and say a few words about your firm, please come on up.
Our family made you guys gifts this year too, since it's our third year. So our kids have loved it and grown up doing it every single year. And I usually tell you guys each year how much it means to us. I have photos of my 3 children from babies now to college, and they absolutely love the parade. And so this is something we're really proud. We are a family-owned and operated company. My husband, Damon, is the managing broker and active broker for Dallas. And do you want to say anything on the company?
I mean, the company, for us, it's very important because this is a family business. So we don't have corporate America backing us up. We're doing this all ourselves. We started 3 years ago. We really enjoy sponsoring the parade because it's just a fun thing for everybody to do. Our agents come, our family comes, family friends come. We've really loved that aspect of it, and we'll continue to do it until we can't. But we really do appreciate all the support. Everybody from the Rotary Club has been so nice to us and so welcoming. Tom Rhodes, I'll give you the handoff here because of the initial recruiting that he did, which I know his son very well. So his son's also in real estate, and his son just opened up a plumbing and AC business. So I'm giving him a little plug there too because he's a fantastic guy.
We, my kids made all these. These are firework pecans, but we also put together a website. If you scan the QR code, it does an entire parade day guide for you guys, so you know exactly what time your parade starts, when it ends, where to park, and we even did what kind of shade preference you like. If you want full shade where you're sitting, you need to park and sit at this street, and what those views are. So it's really fun. I hope you enjoy it. It's again a gift from our family and our company to you guys. But this is our third year in our company. We've made really big strides. We're the #1 brokerage in Dallas for the highest price per agent volume. And it's been an incredible feat to happen, and we're so proud, and it allows us to continue to come back to the Rotary Club and sponsor this parade. So that support back to us is so valuable, and we appreciate it. So I'll keep this little bag by the door. Y'all can grab one, and thank y'all so much for the parade. We absolutely love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mark, do you want me to continue to use this mic? Yes, please. Okay. So they are the title sponsor. Now we'll move to the title patron. And so this is the firm that is really helping us kickstart our goal for getting more meals for needy North Texans. The title patron is Bell Nunley. And they were a lower level patron last year, and they wanted to step up, and room became available for them, and they stepped up into the title role, and so we are very appreciative of their support. With Bell Nunley today is Kenny Michaelsberger. If you want to come up and say a few words.
I wrote a few things downstairs, and they gave me a nice coloring sheet to put it on. just so that I could stay on track. Well, first of all, thank you, everyone, for allowing us to be here. As she mentioned, my name is Kenny Michaelsberger, and I'm a partner at Bell Nunley and Martin. We're proud to stand behind the Rotary Club and the 4th of July Parade. We stand behind great companies, great entrepreneurs, and great organizations here in Dallas and beyond. While we're known for our client service and tackling the toughest problems of our clients, community involvement has always been an important part of our culture and continues today. We've been doing this for 40 years here in Dallas, where we are headquartered, and it's our only office, but we are both national and international, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here. We're especially proud to be part of the Park City's 4th of July Parade this year as the title patron. As you know, the parade is much more than what happens on the 4th of July and the parade route. With the affiliation with the North Texas Food Bank, the Park Cities are able to benefit each of their neighbors and the neighbors around us who are in need. It's very important for our firm, and it's very important for the Park Cities. This event impact is felt long past the 4th of July, and we're just so proud to be part of it. On behalf of Bell Nunley, we're proud to be affiliated with the Rotary Club, the 4th of July Parade, and the North Texas Food Bank, and we just appreciate y'all allowing us to be part of it. Thank you.
Hey, Monty, are you coming up?
Hello, my name is Irene Montero, and I'm going to be introducing our other patrons and sponsors. So if we could just clap as I say their names. First, we have Frost Bank, who is our patron sponsor, and representing Frost Bank with us today is Clement George. Thanks so much. And then we also have the Rotary District 5810, and representing them is Mike Callahan, our Rotary District Governor. Our Old Glory patrons are Atmos Energy, and we have Susan Harris and Cameron Page here today. And then we also have Encore as one of our Old Glory patrons, and representing Encore is Elmer Valdespino. And then we also have our Stars and Stripes sponsors, and that is the Park Cities People newspapers, and we have Miss Rachel Snyder here today with us. Okay, and then we also have Sewell. Lexi Holt was not able to make it here today, but we really appreciate everything that they do for us. Without them, we would have nowhere to put all of our fabulous guests on the parade route. You guys would have to walk, so I know that we appreciate them giving us cars. And then we also have Turf and Earth Golf Carts. Chris Rick also could not be here today, and he gives us the carts that we get to ride around in. So we are very, very thankful that we don't have to walk around in the summer heat. So thank you all so much again for supporting the parade and helping North Texas Food Bank.
And next we'll hear from Susan Harris.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Harrison Coleman. And many of us already know Harrison through the North Texas Food Bank and all of his great works. Harrison is a major gifts officer at the North Texas Food Bank. He connects major donors to the organization's mission of combating hunger. Harrison brings expertise in cultivating relationships with supporters and advancing fundraising objectives. Please join me in welcoming him to the stage. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I know you're used to seeing Tricia Cunningham, our President and CEO here. She is not available today, so I am happy and honored to be before you guys. And thank you for your incredible contributions to the North Texas Food Bank. Since 2016, the North Texas Food Bank has been the beneficiary of the annual 4th of July Parade. And in that time, you all have helped us raise over 2.4 million meals to support families facing hunger, support children facing hunger, and support our schools to provide those meals for those children as well. So that is absolutely incredible. Right now, Texas is unfortunately the #1 state facing hunger in the nation. So to combat that, we are in our second year of our Fulfilling Futures plan. And our goal of Fulfilling Futures is to fulfill 80% of the need in 219 zip codes that we serve. And to help that, what you guys have done this year, in the 250th celebration of America's independence, so far you all have raised over 526,839 meals this year so far. Thank you so much. That's absolutely incredible. That is almost $50,000 meals more than we've raised for the entire parade last year, and we haven't even reached July yet. In addition, I'd like to thank the Legacy of Leadership Group. Every year you guys come through and make sure that our children are supported from books and vending machines, and also this year by making sure the 250 Club enables supporters to provide at least 1,500 meals each with their $250 donation. So far, the Legacy of Leadership Group has raised over 120,000 meals through their efforts through this campaign. So thank you so much. And I'd like to thank all of the patrons and all of the sponsors. Thank you so much for everything you do to support the North Texas Food Bank, not just through this parade. Every single one of our patrons and sponsors have supported the North Texas Food Bank additionally through us throughout the year. So thank you so much for everything that you all have done. I'd be happy to talk with you all about how your food, how your meals are circulating through our system. Like I said, right now we are supporting over 219 zip codes, and that means about 400,000 pounds of food go out a day to support North Texas families. So thank you so much for volunteering with us, and if there's ever anything that I can do for any of you guys, please let me know.
And as part of our Legacy of Leadership this year and efforts to support the parade beneficiary and reaching our goals in this 250 year, if you make a donation of $250, you will receive a challenge coin that kind of commemorates this year. And so next I'd like to introduce Clement George, who will be introducing our Grand Marshal. So Jeff and our Grand Marshal, if you would like to make your way up.
So while they make their way to the stage, I will touch on, again, as many of you are aware of what Legacy of Leadership is, that Rotary created this program. We meet roughly around 8 different times. We have guest speakers, and as we hone our leadership skills, and I think we're on the 6th, 7th cohort now, and each Legacy of Leadership cohort has a capstone project. And so our group decided that we wanted to help support the fundraising mechanism of the parade and raise money for the North Texas Food Bank, and we wanted to do it in a more creative way than we've done in the past. So many of you might not know this, but all military units and even many flag officers, I'm sure Admiral Walsh at one time, have a challenge coin, much like this one I have in my hand. And as military lore goes, if I were to challenge Jeff Brady here and put my coin on the table, he would have to produce his coin. If he doesn't, he owes me a round. If he does, it backfires and I owe him a round. So, in that spirit, you have your opportunity to get your own Rotary Club challenge coin. And new rule going forward, if you get challenged with your Rotary Club challenge coin and you don't have it, you're gonna owe a round. So, take these, they're on every single table. $250 gets you your own Rotary Club. This is a picture of the front and back of the coin. So please, all the proceeds go to the North Texas Food Bank. And right now we're in a triple match opportunity. So your $250 becomes $1,000. So please, take this with you, scan the QR code, and help us with our Legacy of Leadership project in raising money for the North Texas Food Bank. Now, on to my introduction of the guest of honor. I apologize, some of this might sound a little redundant, as y'all heard some of Admiral Walsh's accolades already, so please bear with me. So Admiral Patrick Walsh graduated with honors from Jesuit College Preparatory School in Dallas and was the second student in the history of Jesuit to receive both the Distinguished Graduate and Distinguished Alumnus Awards. He later graduated from the United States Naval Academy with a Bachelor of Science. He also holds a Master of Arts in Law and Diplomacy, a Doctor of Philosophy and International Relations from Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University, and was a White House Fellow assigned to the Executive Office of the President in the Office of Management and Budget. After designation as a naval aviator, Walsh began operational flying with the Golden Dragons of Attack Squadron 192 He then reported to Air Test and Evaluation Squadron 5 as an operational test director until selection to the Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron, the famous Blue Angels. When he returned to the fleet, Walsh joined the Golden Warriors of Strike Fighter Squadron 87 as the operations officer and flew combat missions in support of Operations Desert Storm. Walsh commanded the Gunslingers of Strike Fighter Squadron 105. He commanded Carrier Air Wing 1 aboard the USS John F. Kennedy and commanded Carrier Group 7 of the USS John C. Stennis Strike Group. He commanded the U.S. Naval Forces of Central Command and U.S. Fifth Fleet in the Middle East, while also commanding the Combined Maritime Forces conducting operations Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, and Maritime Security Operations. Admiral Walsh was selected as the 35th Vice Chief of Naval Operations, the second highest ranking officer in the United States Navy. And finally, he served as Commander, U.S. Pacific Fleet, responsible for the largest naval force in the world, where he led the U.S. military response to the Japanese earthquake, tsunami, and radiation catastrophes. After his naval career, Admiral Walsh was a Senior Vice President, General Manager at Eyesight Partners, a FireEye company. He served as Vice President of the Boeing Company, and he later co-founded the First Watch Group as a consultant in partnership with former business leaders in the aerospace and defense industry. In April 2022, the Cristo Rey Dallas College Preparatory Board of Directors appointed Dr. Patrick Walsh, the third president of Cristo Rey Dallas. He was a member of a small team that established the foundation for the school opening in 2015 as the 29th school in the Cristo Rey network. Admiral Walsh resides in Dallas with his wife of 35 years, Annie Kay, who is an active contributor to the nonprofit community, and they have 2 grown children. Would you please welcome our 2026 Grand Marshal, Admiral Patrick Walsh, along with our Master of Ceremonies, who needs no introduction, Mr. Jeff Brady.
Thank you, Clement. Whew. After that introduction, we have time for one question. I'm sorry. That's all we're left with. But
I want to get a coin.
You want to get a coin?
I
Well,
thought that was a great pitch.
we can get you one. We can get you one. After that introduction, probably a lot of people in the audience are wondering, do you prefer being introduced as Admiral, Skipper, Doctor, or just Pat?
I'm the oldest of 6. Pat is the only thing that works in the house.
Have you ever been interviewed by a Marine before?
I'm about to be.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we're breaking new ground here, folks. We're breaking new ground. You know, it goes without saying, you have driven, ridden, commanded, commandeered some very expensive, high-priced machines in your career. But I want you to know that your predecessor, our previous Grand Marshal, who's sitting to your immediate right, Jim Wharton, was known across our entire community for commandeering and driving a giant 2-wheeler antique bicycle during the entire parade. So we're hoping you'll continue that tradition during the parade.
It sounds like a hard act to follow.
It is. He's a wonderful member of our community. So anyway, Admiral, thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure, and we're so honored to have you as our Grand Marshal for this year. But let's get right to it. I want to try and target some of the questions I think might be on the minds of so many of us. And I think just about everybody in this audience has probably at some time seen a performance by the Blue Angels. And you were a member, a slot pilot, right, for the Blue Angels. What does it take to be a Blue Angel, to make that team?
Okay, so just to put it in context from what we just discussed, where does the name Blue Angel come from?
That's a good question.
It's a bar.
Okay, all right.
It was a bar in New York City in 1946. The team celebrates its 80th anniversary this year. So where did this idea come from of an aerial demonstration squadron right after the country goes through an incredible period in World War II? We're downsizing. We're releasing more than 3 million people in the Navy to a size of about 484,000. So in order to be able to build something new at a time when everything else is closing down, shutting down, or being released back into inactive service, it had to have a sponsor. And the Chief of Naval Operations at the time was a guy by the name of Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz. So Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz in September of 1945 is hosting the instrument of surrender taking place right there at Pearl Harbor, or in Tokyo Bay rather, and within weeks of that, he's going to become the Chief of Naval Operations. So where does this come from? I think what he did is he wanted to memorialize what saved him in World War II, which was Battle of Midway. Battle of Midway changes the whole course of history in the Pacific, the whole Pacific campaign. So in June of 1942, first week of June 1942, Nimitz rolls the dice and puts naval aviation on the line to change the whole course of the Pacific campaign by destroying 4 enemy aircraft carriers at that time. I think he wanted to remember that. So the answer to your question is the people that get put in that position in the early days of the team are people that really represent naval aviation at its best. So they take risk, takes a lot of fortitude, a lot of courage, not sure exactly how everything's going to turn out when they were flying in the Pacific. They want to capture that kind of aviation moxie and put it in front of the American people so they never forget we can do hard things. We can beat the odds when they're stacked up against us. And I think it's a really important theme to remember as we start our campaign to remember 250 years of our country.
That's great. That's one of my later questions, so you kind of jumped the gun there a little bit, but that's okay.
Well, that's what happens when you give me the questions in advance.
I shouldn't have told you. What is the most difficult or perhaps unusual thing you ever had to do as a Blue Angel? What's the hardest part of it?
I wouldn't call it hard, but certainly unusual is during my period of time on the team, we transitioned from the A4F to the F-18. That's different. So the A4 is an airplane that everyone had flown in the course of their training pipeline, had flown extensively in Vietnam. So this is a traditional airplane with what we would call steam gauges. And the flight controls are real simple. So the flight control stick is connected to hydraulic lines that when you move the stick, you move hydraulic fluid around, and ailerons go one direction or another, and the airplane is very responsive. 720 degrees per second rate of roll. So it's a fast, nimble airplane. It's small, tucks in tight. When we would fly, we'd fly about that far apart, 24 to 36 inches. And that's 150 flights that brings us to that. What most people don't know about the team is out of the 6 that you see flying, 3 are brand new. So we're doing succession planning all the time. But the transition to the F-18 now presents a different problem because that's a digital flight control. And so at the bottom of that stick is not hydraulic fluid, it's wires. Wires go to a flight control computer. That computer evaluates, you want to go left? Let me help you. So it's going to move not only ailerons, it's going to move all kinds of flight controls. And the result is there's a lag in that period of time that it takes for input. I mean, it's milliseconds, but still it can create conditions for pilot-induced oscillations. So what we did was, since I had flown as a test pilot at China Lake 2 years earlier, got an F-18. We asked for permission after we apologized for what we just did. So I took the F-18 up in the A4 show, okay, because I wanted to see what the flight handling characteristics were going to be in close formation. So I'm running the trim full nose down in order to get some kind of feel in the stick because it's all digital. And it's a very different feel compared to the A4. And as soon as I get into the formation, it's a big airplane by comparison, so there's a bow wave that comes off it. So everybody feels the disturbed air coming from the airplane. That's one thing to note. We go into an overhead maneuver, and the stick comes all the way back and bumps into the ejection seat. Not a good day. So at that point, I was able to leave the formation, stay in the airplane, and land. All my takeoffs and landings, they equal. Okay, those are equal numbers. Yeah, so it's, we're basic men when it comes to like a good day and a bad day at work. Yeah, okay. So at that point, we realized we've got a problem in terms of how we're going to manage the flight controls. There's a guy at Patuxent River, which is our test center, looks like Spencer Tracy, been there 30 years and said, I can solve this. Goes to Ace Hardware, gets a spring, a mechanical spring, puts it at the base of the stick, gives the pilot the artificial feel that he needs to take out the null in the stick. And we've been flying the airplane since 1986, 40 years.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So let me jump ahead a little bit. So when you've got a long list of accomplishments, you've commanded it at every level throughout the Navy. But when you are sitting there as the commander of the entire Pacific Fleet, give us all an idea of the reach and the breadth of that force. You are the guy at the top.
It goes from the western part of California, western boundary California, to the India-Pakistan border. So it's 11 time zones, 100 million square miles.
How many carrier groups? How many people?
125,000 people. We've got 5 carrier groups that were out there at the time when I was there. And it's about a $11, $12 billion budget. The issue is readiness. And okay, there's a cost that goes with it. And so how do we manage that cost? And everything's in the public eye, so there's got to be a lot of transparency when it comes to that. So it's really important to issue guidance that that is consistent and in alignment with the overall direction we want to take the country, and meaning we're not out looking for a fight, but at the same time we're not walking away from it. And if ever there was a scenario that used to keep me up at night, it was really what we saw in 1964. So that's Gulf of Tonkin. And for people who aren't aware, this is how we get into the Vietnam War. And so so the 2 ships, Turner Joy and Maddox, in August, September 1964, are on DeSoto patrols. Okay, so that's electronic warfare, signals collection. That's it. That's all they're doing. But they're right at the territorial sea limit. So the North Vietnamese, because of all the rhetoric that was running around in the background, that was very aggressive at the time, come out. But they come out with torpedo boats. So Turner Joy and Maddox see torpedo boats coming, so they fire warning shots. Warning shots at 10,000 yards, 5 miles. That looks like they're shooting at you and missing. Torpedo boats now go pursue and get aggressive with their geometry and fire into those 2 ships. Jim Stockdale at that point is flying air cover, and he leads a group of F-8s to come in and take out one of those torpedo boats, retire to the ship, and at that point we think the evening now is going to be quiet. There's a call to launch the Alert. So the Alert now is an airplane that's sitting on a catapult that's ready to launch in about 10 minutes or so. There's a young lieutenant up there, Stockdale himself, hears that call for Alert, doesn't know what's going on, runs up to the flight deck himself, pulls the young guy out, jumps in the cockpit himself, and then flies for the next hour and a half under the close control of the carrier. The carrier has him releasing ordnance into the night. Stockdale lands and said, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I was just dropping ordnance. I couldn't see anything that was out there. Goes to bed. Gets a knock on his door at 4 o'clock in the morning, says, hey, you've got to lead the strike. He goes, what strike? The reprisal. Reprisal for what? For the attack on Turner Joy and Maddox last night. He goes, I was there. There was no attack. 58,000 lives later, that's the Vietnam War.
And that's amazing. And as a student, I'm just imagining, as a student at Annapolis, you may have studied that sequence of events.
Oh, sure, but there's a sequence of events that's sort of represented in the historical record. This is Stockdale's own account from his book, In Love and War, in the first chapter. You read that and you go, you scratch your head and go, my word.
And that was probably, that knowing that, being a student of history, you had that on your mind as the commander of the Pacific
Absolutely, because
Fleet.
at the end of the day, we're interpreting through the lens of technology the intent of the other guy. So I'm looking at a radar scope and I'm trying to determine whether or not he's going to shoot me. I don't want to be the one to absorb the first shot, but at the same time, there has to be rules of engagement that don't provoke the very thing we're trying to avoid.
So during that time, as commander of the Pacific Fleet, what was the most challenging assignment of that period of time?
Without a doubt, it's the earthquake, tsunami, and radiation triple disaster.
So take us back in time. When was that and what happened?
So that's March 11th, 2011. Okay. It's 2:46 in the afternoon, Japan time. It's at night in Hawaii. We think there's a problem with the seismograph because we're looking at seismograph data And we're going, what is that all about? So anything over an 8.3 magnitude earthquake in Japan is a 1,000-year event. This is 9.1. This is affecting the tilt of the Earth's axis. It's physically moving Japan 7 feet. And because Japan is the most instrumented country in the world, we know exactly where it took place. It's 65 miles off the coast of Sendai. It's at a depth of 22,000 feet. It displaces 10 billion tons of water, and it's moving at the speed of a jet to Sendai. And the wave gets up to 133 feet, reaches 6.5 miles inland, destroys 400,000 homes and buildings, and kills 20,000 people in the process. Pulls everything within its reach out to sea. And so what you see are super tankers on top of buildings, and you see trains and subways all pulled out to sea. And at that point, Fukushima loses primary, secondary, tertiary power to 6 power plants that are lined up parallel to the coastline. And
nuclear power plants.
Nuclear. Yeah. And with each nuclear power plant is a spent fuel pond, which is where the rods go for the next 2,500 years to cool down. So without any fresh water in circulation, now all of that is at risk of cooking off. And that's where we see these meltdowns that take place in buildings 1, 2, and 3. And at that point, radiation's in the atmosphere, it's on the ground, it's in the water supply, it's being tracked all over the city.
And there you are.
Right.
And you're
and
targeted. You say you're the guy who has to respond.
Right. So Operation Tomodachi, which comes from the Japanese word for friend, is a military operation that mobilizes about 20,000 who are in the area. So Reagan Strike Group is there, along with ships in her company. We get multiple aircraft support, and as soon as the earthquake hit, I had forces that were in Singapore. They recalled everybody. They went exactly to the 12-mile limit for Japan because they didn't wait for orders. They didn't wait for guidance. They knew what we were going to do. So part of that leadership model is being clear, consistent, and concise in terms of mobilizing the team around you so they know in advance, because you're consistent, how you're going to react and respond to things that no one anticipates.
So how long were you there? At the end of the day, what was that operation like, that rescue? And
several weeks, but I think the measure of success is to ask, what is the outcome that we're trying to get to? So the Japanese had no faith inside the Ministry of Technology because they were, Tokyo Electric Power Company was the group that was responsible for Fukushima. And the leadership management team at TEPCO were saying things that the engineering team was shaking their heads going, no, things are not going well. And as a result, the irony was that the Japanese were coming to us because they knew we would give them a candid, direct answer to what was going on in the nuclear power plant.
So what do you want Americans to know, looking back now, knowing what you know now? What was the result overall of that response that the American had?
I'll give you the net outcome is that we take risk for friends. And if you look at the U.S. approval rating going into this operation, which hovered around the mid-30s or so % in terms of favorability, we're exceeding 92% coming out of it. Just 2 years ago, the Japan Times wrote a piece on this because the Japanese see this as a turning point in the U.S.-Japan alliance. And if you look at the relationship today, Japan is far more forward-leaning in terms of U.S. interests, U.S. defense interests, U.S. economic interests, and we have a much closer relationship within Japan in ways that we didn't have before. And coincidentally, not because of it, we just hosted here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area the Texas-Japan Economic Summit, which there's over $30 billion done between the government of Japan, the people of Japan, businesses in Japan, and Texas alone. So we have a really strong partnership in ways that we could have never imagined.
That's fantastic. So moving on, what was, and this may be a related question, your answer to this one, but what was, as you look back now as a civilian, what was the scariest moment of your naval career? What is it that, where you really had a moment to say, okay, this is going to be
Okay.
hard.
So I can't talk about my marriage or anything like
No,
that?
no,
Okay,
no,
okay.
no. Let's set that aside for now. That's a whole nother talk.
I think the realization that we go anywhere at any time in naval aviation, regardless of the time of day, regardless of the weather conditions. So I think one of the most difficult, challenging events I had was actually Reagan's '85 inauguration. So I'm flying with the Blue Angels at the time. We are scheduled to fly over, but
This is what year?
85.
85.
So January of
Yeah.
85.
Okay.
So he had just won re-election in '84. And if you remember, the parade was canceled that year because they were afraid the guys with the trombones were not going to be able to get their lips off the instrument.
Weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, weather. Yeah.
Weather, because it was that frigid, that cold. So I'm brand new to the team, so all 6 of us take off. So it's an 18-wheeler going down the runway. I mean, so we all take off together. And at that point, we are going to go cross-country from Washington, D.C. to El Centro, California, which is where we were going to begin our training for the team. So the team calendar is from January through March, and typically we'll go 2 weeks on and take a day off. We'll fly 2 or 3 times a day. But all of that was in front of me. So I'm new to the team. And so now we are flying cross-country against a lot of headwind because it's that time of year. And we're trying to rendezvous on a tanker. Okay, so there's 1 tanker, there's 6 guys, and we're all running out of gas at the same time. And so when you get behind that curve...
And just for clarity, this is a tanker in midair.
Right.
And you're going to refuel each jet from the tanker.
First we're going to find them.
Okay.
And then we're going to...
But that's the idea.
Right. So the weather is murky. The weather is difficult, not cooperating. We don't have radar, in terms of that type vintage aircraft. So it's all looking outside, going, there he is. Go get him. And so now we get through that hard part, and we're all lined up. And the weather means that there's all kinds of turbulence in the air. So the basket that we are refueling in is up and down. And some of us are better at it than others. Okay, so we finally get the flight lead, who never has to fly formation on anyone because he's the flight lead, into the basket. And so, he's very comfortable. He's letting us know on the radio he's very comfortable. I'm looking at a red light that says I got like 400 pounds of gas left. And so I need to get into the basket. And so we do that 3 times because it takes that long to keep everybody from running out of gas. So by the time I got to El Centro, many hours later, it was a big relief. But that was the way I started with the Blue Angels.
That was your welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, now here's a question, and we don't want to get political, but there are tensions. There are always global tensions. But what do you want people to know at this moment in time about the capability and reach of the U.S. Navy, say, compared to that of the Chinese?
So I had a chance to take a look at inside a Chinese cockpit. And
recently?
No, this was a couple of years ago, but the point is still the same. So you can see everything they stole. Okay, so if you look at the Chinese Navy recruiting video, it's all our stuff. So the weapon systems, the vertical launch systems, the flight deck jerseys. I mean, they stole petabytes of data, and they didn't even have the decency to translate it back into Chinese. They just left it in English. So the point is that they have skipped over what it takes in order to have operational lessons learned, and they're just stealing from someone else's playbook. They're creating, as a result, a lot of discomfort in the region, in the neighborhood, and people there want to know where the United States is going to be in the future. So let me share with you a conversation I had with Lee Kuan Yew. So Lee Kuan Yew is the founder of Singapore, the great leader. So he's the one that brings Singapore out of the jungle after World War II and creates it to what it is today. After this operation in Japan, I get an invitation to come see him in Singapore. If you've ever been to Singapore, it's immaculate in terms of how well it's preserved and kept. But at the same time, he's very modest. So I'm in a room that's very small, got a card table, picture on the wall, and a bed. That's it. He says, what do you see in the future of the Pacific? I give him an answer where China has a big role to play. He's asking the question, do you take translators with you when you go to China, or do you use theirs? It's a very in tune question because he's describing now messages that you should be receiving, but you're not because of the translator. I said, yes, we have a really strong relationship with the Chinese American community. We're supported by home. Then he says something that is worth repeating. He says the United States has done something that we could never do. We do not trust each other. And what he's meaning is we don't trust the Chinese, the Vietnamese, Brunei, Malaysia. We don't trust any of them. But we trust the United States. And the reason we trust the United States is you embrace people in ways that we never could. You unlock the intellectual capability of the talent that's all around you. You found a way to do that. We don't know how to do that.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's from Singapore.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Well, let's move ahead a little bit because you've had such a great career, but we want to look also at your work here. And so, what attracted you after this illustrious career in the Navy? What attracted you to return to Dallas? Of course, your roots are here, but specifically to Cristo Rey in Dallas.
So I'm the oldest of six. My father worked at a high school, and the high school I wanted to go to when I was in the 8th grade, we couldn't afford. But because my dad worked at Jesuit, what Jesuit did is it allowed for faculty to bring their own kids there for free. Because of Jesuit, I was able to get to Annapolis, from Annapolis to flight school. From flight school, a career I could have never imagined, to include 3 graduate degrees, one being a PhD. What made all of that possible, and the opportunity for counseling and mentoring and coaching and imagining a career I couldn't have imagined on my own, was made possible by people I don't know. Somebody funded that. Somebody believed in education, and I was the beneficiary of it. I see the value of that. That's why I'm down in Pleasant Grove.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. And you've been there for
3 years.
3 years now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want, for those of us who, the Rotary is certainly a philanthropic organization. We do have a lot of great nonprofit partners. But for those who aren't as familiar with Cristo Rey, what do you want everybody here to know about the work?
Mid-90s or so, there's a 60-minute segment on it. A Jesuit priest looks at Southside Chicago and says, we're failing. We're failing communities, we're failing families, and education programs and schools were closing. So he recognized he needed a different model, a model that generates its own revenue. Now that opens up something really interesting. So it's called Corporate Work Study, and what that means is that in a zip code, 75217, intentionally place the school where we focus on families that are on the federal poverty line. 46% of the population has a high school diploma. Median income is $33,000. Average home value is $75,000. That's the future unless we do something different. Great place for a hubcap or a muffler or a used tire. What you'll find, though, is that the audacity of this is that we're placing students from these families who have never graduated from high school themselves into a college placement program. We are nationally recognized for the number of advanced placement courses that we're taking, and we have 145 now going to 160 different job partners. Many are here in the room. So when we present ourselves, we're a fee-for-service model. Think of work that has to be done in the back office, and we bring 4 students, a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and we're rotating them throughout the week. From the bank's perspective, they're seeing a student in a blazer and a tie every day. From the student perspective, he's working 4 or 5 days a month. And what that means is the duality of having a college prep diploma that says I'm studying AP statistics and I work at Goldman Sachs. That's why they're getting 9, 10 offers on average from families that are no kidding coming from their wage-earning jobs, sure. and now, seeing their sons and daughters. Yeah.
Sure, that's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
great work. 4th of July, we're going to have a great celebration. And you're going to be at the helm of it. What's the most interesting 4th of July you've ever celebrated, perhaps in the Navy?
On ship.
On chip.
On chip, yeah. We use live ordnance. We don't. We don't do firecrackers.
That makes it special. We just mentioned our theme this year is America 250. So this is a big year for the whole nation. What are your thoughts about, the founding when you look back, not to imply that you're that old, but when you look back at the founding of the nation, and we've come a long way, and this is a big year to recognize the signing of the Declaration of Independence and where we've come. What do you want people to be thinking about this year?
First of all, don't forget. Don't forget that they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. They use that word sacred in front of honor, not of anything else. So what does that really mean? And I've had the pleasure of being in the all-volunteer force since 1973. And I had a chance to see this transition from a mixed bag of conscripts that were part of Vietnam, volunteers, into this professional force that became a global force for good. So how does that happen? What is that sort of magic formula? Where does it begin? Because these are students that will become recruits, that will become sailors or Marines. They're coming from Thomas Jefferson. They're coming from Wilmer Hutchins. They're coming from McKinney. They're coming from Plano. They're coming from Fort Worth. They're coming from all over. So how do you do that? And I think where I would start is just the reminder of what holds us all together. Nothing else other than the oath. Do you solemnly swear that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office that you are about to enter. So help you God. That came out of the Continental Congress, the first Continental Congress. And what's interesting about that was the recognition that no legal document, no contract, could substitute for an oath. And if you look at those 70 words that are in that oath that we use today, there's only one word that's repeated, and that's faith. To believe in something where the facts themselves are not self-evident. As I look back, the memory that I have across all of those wonderful years flying great jets and being around great people was actually a commitment that we made, that the Blue Angels make to the community every time they're visiting. And the one memory that I have from North Dakota, Fargo, is going to a veterans hospital and going through a building that was obviously built long before my time, with jackhammers in the hallway and all kinds of concrete and drab olive-colored paint. As I walk up the stairs, there's 5 men waiting for me. This is 1986, 40 years ago. 2 are from the Great Wars, one from World War I, the other from World War II. There's one from Korea, 2 from Vietnam. And one of them is on crutches with his pajamas pinned up because he's missing a limb. They're wearing their medals on their pajamas. They're standing when I walk in. And I look, and I'm a lieutenant. I've never been in combat at that point. And I say, why? Why do you stand for me? And one person became the spokesman and said, we stand proudly for what you represent. So when you think of 250 years, stand proudly for what we represent.
Well said. Your 2026 Grand Marshal, Admiral Pat Walsh. Thank you. Thanks, Admiral.
Okay, you bet.
Pat, if you'll go up and just stay up here for a minute. And if you'd be willing to hang around for a few minutes afterwards, I'm sure some people have questions for you. Greg, if you could come up. We have a special Rotary honor to present to you today.
Thank you. Recognizing an individual with a Paul Harris Fellow is one of the highest honors a Rotary Club can bestow. People are typically recognized with a Paul Harris Fellow for the following reasons: financial contributions to the foundation of Rotary, extraordinary club leadership, gifts of appreciation and tribute, and last but not least, outstanding community service. Rotary clubs frequently purchase a Paul Harris Fellow to honor non-Rotarians or local community partners who embody the Rotary motto, service above self, and have made a lasting positive impact in the community. Retired U.S. Navy, Patrick M. Walsh, you have made significant contributions to the Dallas community through education, local nonprofits, corporate leadership, and a tireless advocate for local veterans and youth. And today you're being honored with a Paul Harris Fellow. We have this certificate from the Rotary Foundation signed by Holger Knock, who's our Rotary Chair, Board of Trustee, as well as the President of Rotary International, Francesco Arezzo. This certificate, and along with it, thank you, the Rotary Paul Harris pin that you can wear on your lapel. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. And also, for everyone who is a speaker of the day, we place a book in the Jack Lowe Senior Elementary School in your honor. So thank you so much. Next week's speaker is Lynn McBee for the Young Women's Preparatory Network, and the chair of the day is Ed Feuerbach, and we will be led in our four-way test by past President Nolan Duck.
Thank you. Can we all stand, please? One of the commitments that we make when we become a part of the Rotary Club is a commitment to keep the four-way test. And this is something that we recite as we leave every time that we meet. For those of you who are guests, the four-way test is shown on the different screens. But follow along with me as we make this commitment to each other and for that matter, to our nation and our God. Of the things we think, say, and do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you for all you do.